Danny Marsh did not know why he walked into the New Hope shelter that cold Tuesday afternoon. His therapist had suggested he needed companionship. She said the empty house was not helping his grief. 2 years had passed since died, and Danny still ate dinner alone at the kitchen table where they used to laugh together. He thought maybe a dog would help. A dog would not ask questions or expect him to smile when he did not feel like smiling. The shelter sat on the edge of Denver, a large building with windows that let in soft light. Inside, the air smelled clean and warm. A woman at the front desk looked up and smiled at him. Her name tag said, "Welcome to New Hope," she said. "Are you here to adopt?" Danny nodded. "I was thinking about a dog, something quiet." Handed him a tablet with pictures of animals. Dogs, cats, and creatures from other planets filled the screen. Danny scrolled through them slowly, but his attention kept drifting. Through a glass wall, he could see a large room where children played. Human children ran alongside young aliens of various species. They laughed and chased each other around colorful furniture. But one child did not play. In the far corner of the room, a small girl sat alone on a bench. She had pale blue skin and large silver eyes that stared at nothing. Two delicate antennae rose from her forehead, but they drooped low like wilted flowers. She held her knees against her chest and made herself as small as possible. Danny found himself walking toward the glass, noticed, and came to stand beside him. "That is," said quietly, "she is 7 years old." "Why is she alone?" Danny asked. Sighed, "She has been here for 18 months, the longest of any child we have. Her parents died in a shuttle accident near Jupiter Station. She was the only survivor." Danny watched the little girl. She did not move. She did not look at the other children. It was like she had built a wall around herself that nobody could see. "They are very sensitive to emotions," continued. "When they experience great trauma, they sometimes shut down completely. Has not spoken a single word since she arrived here. She does not respond to anyone." "Has anyone tried to adopt her?" Danny asked. "3 families said. They all brought her back. They said she was too broken. They said they could not reach her no matter what they tried." Danny felt something twist in his chest. He knew what it meant to feel broken. After died, he had wanted to disappear too. He had wanted to sit in a corner and let the world forget about him. But the world kept moving, and he had to move with it, even when every step hurt. "Can I go in there?" Danny asked. Looked surprised. "Of course, but I should warn you she will not acknowledge you. The counselors say she may never recover." Danny did not answer. He just walked to the door and stepped inside the playroom. The noise of children filled his ears, but he moved past them toward the quiet corner. When he reached the bench where sat, he did not sit next to her. He sat on the floor a few feet away, his back against the wall. He did not speak to her. He did not look at her. He just sat there, breathing slowly, watching the other children play. Minutes passed. Danny could feel his presence beside him, small and still and silent. He remembered how it felt after his funeral when people kept coming to his house with food and sympathy. They all wanted him to talk. They all wanted him to share his feelings. But sometimes the kindest thing someone did was just sit with him in silence. So Danny sat in silence with. An hour passed, watched through the glass with a strange expression on her face. Other shelter workers gathered beside her, whispering to each other. Danny did not notice. He was too busy doing nothing at all. When the shelter announced it would close soon, Danny slowly got to his feet. He looked at her for the first time. She had not moved, but her large silver eyes had shifted slightly in his direction. It was small. It was almost nothing, but Danny saw it. "I will come back tomorrow," he said softly. He did not expect an answer, and he did not get one. He walked back to at the front desk. She was staring at him like he had done something impossible. "That is the first time she has looked at anyone in 6 months," said. Danny did not know what to say. He had not done anything special. He had just been there. "I want to know about the adoption process," Danny said. For children. His eyes went wide. You want to adopt, but you came here for a dog. Danny looked back at the glass wall, was still sitting in her corner, but her head had turned slightly toward where he had been sitting, like she was wondering where he went. I think I came here for her, Danny said. Handed him a folder full of papers. The process for adoption was long and complicated. He would need approval from human authorities and from the Galactic Child Services. He would need home visits and background checks and interviews with alien counselors who would decide if a human could properly care for a child. Most applications take months, said, and I should be honest with you. They are protective of their children. They may not approve a human adopting one of their own, especially a child as damaged as. Danny took the folder. I understand. Why do you want to do this? Asked. You do not even know her. Danny thought about the question. He thought about his empty house and his silent dinners, and the way grief had made him feel like he was drowning in still water. He thought about a little girl with drooping antennae who had lost everything and been returned 3 times by people who were supposed to save her. Because nobody should sit alone in a corner forever, Danny said. He walked out of the shelter into the cold afternoon air. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and pink. Danny held the folder against his chest and made a decision. He would come back tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day until that little girl knew that someone in this universe was not going to give up on her. He did not know if he could help her. He did not know if she would ever speak or smile or let anyone into the walls she had built. But he knew one thing for certain. He was going to try. Danny kept his promise. Every day after work, he drove to the New Hope shelter and sat on the floor near his corner. He never pushed her. He never demanded anything. He just sat there with his lunch box and ate his sandwich while she sat on her bench a few feet away. The other shelter workers thought he was wasting his time. A child who had shut down this completely rarely came back. The damage was too deep. The walls were too thick. 3 families had already tried and failed. What made this human construction worker think he could do any better? But Danny did not care what they thought. He was not trying to fix. He was just trying to be near her. On the 5th day, sat down beside him during his visit. I have to tell you something, she said quietly. The families who returned her, they were good people. They tried everything. Therapy, medication, special programs designed by psychologists. Nothing worked. Danny chewed his sandwich and said nothing. One family kept her for 3 months, continued. They said it was like living with a ghost. She would not eat unless food was placed directly in front of her. She would not sleep unless someone carried her to bed. She never made a sound, not once. What happened? Danny asked. They said they could not do it anymore. They said she made them feel like failures every single day. Paused. They were crying when they brought her back. They felt terrible, but they also felt relieved. Danny looked across the room at. She was sitting in her usual position, knees against her chest, antennae drooping low. She looked so small, so fragile, like a bird with broken wings that had forgotten how to fly. I am not going to try to fix her, Danny said. I am just going to be here. Studied his face for a long moment. You lost someone too, did you not? Danny nodded slowly. My wife, 2 years ago, cancer. I am sorry. After she died, everyone wanted me to talk about it. Everyone wanted me to process my feelings and move through my grief like it was a checklist. But some days I did not want to talk. Some days I just wanted someone to sit with me and not expect anything. Danny looked at again. Maybe she feels the same way. On the 8th day, something changed. Danny was eating his lunch as usual when he noticed movement from the corner of his eye. Had shifted on her bench, just slightly, just an inch or two, but she had moved closer to him. He did not react. He did not look at her or speak to her. He just kept eating his sandwich like nothing had happened. On the 10th day, she moved again. This time she was close enough that he could hear her breathing. It was soft and shallow, like she was trying to make herself as quiet as possible. On the 12th day, Danny took out his sandwich and broke it in half. Without looking at her, he placed one half on the bench beside her and kept eating the other half himself. For a long time, nothing happened. Danny finished his portion and brushed the crumbs from his hands. He was about to stand up when he heard a tiny sound. He glanced sideways and saw reaching for the sandwich. Her small blue fingers wrapped around it carefully, like she was afraid it might disappear. She brought it to her mouth and took a small bite. Danny felt his heart pound in his chest, but he kept his face calm. He did not want to scare her. He did not want to make this moment into something bigger than it was. So he just sat there, saying nothing, while a little girl who had not accepted food from anyone in 18 months ate half of his sandwich. The next morning, Danny submitted his adoption application. A week later, an official arrived at the shelter for an assessment. Her name was Counselor, and she was tall and elegant with deep purple skin and antennae that moved gracefully as she spoke. She looked at Danny with cold suspicion. "You wish to adopt a child," said, "a human." "Yes," Danny replied. "The Inhumans are very different species. We feel emotions more deeply. We connect more intensely. A human cannot possibly provide the emotional environment that a child needs." Danny did not argue, he just listened. "And this particular child," continued, "is severely traumatized. Our own psychologists have given up hope for her recovery. What makes you believe you can succeed where they have failed?" Danny thought about the question carefully. "I do not believe I can succeed," he said. "I just believe she should not be alone." Santini twitched with surprise. "That is your answer. You have no plan, no strategy." "My plan is to show up every day. My strategy is to wait." Shook her head. "Humans are strange creatures. You charge into situations with no preparation and call it courage." "Maybe," Danny said. "Or maybe I just know what it feels like to lose everyone you love. Maybe I know what it feels like to wish someone would stay." From across the room, turned her head. Her silver eyes found Danny's face and stayed there. It was the longest she had ever looked at anyone since arriving at the shelter. Noticed, her expression shifted from suspicion to something else, something that looked almost like wonder. "How did you do that?" whispered. Danny shrugged. "I did not do anything, I just did not leave." Was silent for a long moment. Then she made a note on her tablet. "I will recommend your application for further review," she said. "But I am not approving anything yet. The council will make the final decision." Danny nodded, "Thank you." As walked away, Danny looked back at. She was still watching him. Her antennae had lifted slightly, just a tiny bit, like flowers turning toward the sun. It was not much. It was barely anything at all. But to Danny, it felt like the beginning of something important. The approval came 6 weeks later. Danny stood in the shelter office holding the official document from the Galactic Child Services. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady when he spoke. "When can I take her home?" Smiled at him. It was the first real smile she had given him since they met. "Today, if you want. Her things are already packed." Did not have many things. A small bag with some clothes the shelter had given her. A worn blanket that she had been clutching when rescuers pulled her from the shuttle wreckage. That was all. 7 years of life reduced to one bag and one blanket. Danny knelt down in front of her. She was standing near the door holding her blanket against her chest. Her silver eyes were wide and uncertain. Her antennae drooped low. "Are you ready to go home?" Danny asked softly. Did not answer. She never answered. But when Danny stood up and offered his hand, she looked at it for a long moment. Then, slowly, carefully, she placed her small blue fingers in his palm. They walked out of the shelter together. The drive to Danny's house took 30 minutes. Sat in the back seat, staring out the window at the passing city. Danny watched her in the mirror. She looked so small, so lost. He remembered how he used to talk about wanting children someday. They had been planning to start a family when she got sick. Now here he was, a widower with an alien daughter who could not speak. Life was strange sometimes. Danny's house was a modest two-story building in a quiet neighborhood. He had spent the past month preparing it for. He researched everything he could find about children. They needed soft lighting because their eyes were sensitive. They needed quiet spaces because loud noises overwhelmed them. They needed warmth because their home planet was tropical. He turned the guest bedroom into her room. He painted the walls a gentle blue. He installed dimmer switches on all the lights. He bought the softest blankets he could find and arranged them on her bed in a cozy nest. When they arrived at the house, Danny carried her bag inside and showed her around. Followed him silently, her eyes moving over everything but her face showing nothing. "This is the kitchen," Danny said. "This is the living room. This is my bedroom." He stopped at the door to her room. "And this is yours." Stepped inside. She looked at the blue walls and the soft bed and the gentle light filtering through the curtains. Then she walked to the closet, opened the door, and went inside. She sat down in the corner of the closet and pulled her blanket over her head. Danny felt his heart sink, but he did not panic. He did not try to pull her out or convince her to come to bed. He just sat down on the floor outside the closet door. "I will be right here," he said. "Take all the time you need." The first week was hard. Stayed in the closet most of the time. She only came out to use the bathroom, and even then she moved like a shadow, silent and quick. Danny left food outside the closet door 3 times a day. Sometimes she ate it. Sometimes she did not. He talked to her through the door, not about anything important, just small things, how his day went at work, what the weather was like. A funny thing his Sam said at lunch. He did not expect her to respond. He just wanted her to hear his voice. He wanted her to know she was not alone. On the 4th night, Danny sat outside the closet door and told her about. She was beautiful, he said quietly. She had brown hair and green eyes and a laugh that could fill up a whole room. We met in college. She was studying art. I was studying engineering. We were so different, but somehow we fit together perfectly. He paused, feeling the old grief rise up in his chest. When she got sick, I was so scared. I thought I would die too if I lost her. And when she finally passed, part of me did die. I did not want to get out of bed. I did not want to eat or work or talk to anyone. I just wanted to disappear. Danny heard a small sound from inside the closet, a rustling of fabric. He continued. But I did not disappear. I got up every day even when it hurt. I went to work even when I felt empty inside. And slowly, very slowly, the pain got a little bit easier to carry. He placed his hand flat against the closet door. "I know you are hurting. I know the world feels dark and scary right now. But I want you to know that you do not have to carry that pain alone anymore. I am here, and I am not going anywhere." That night Danny woke to a strange feeling. Someone was watching him. He opened his eyes and saw a small figure standing in his bedroom doorway. Was clutching her blanket, her silver eyes shining in the darkness. Her antennae were trembling. Danny did not move. He did not want to scare her away. "Did you have a bad dream?" he asked gently. Did not answer, but she took one step into the room, then another. She walked to the chair beside Danny's bed and climbed into it. She curled up with her blanket and closed her eyes. Danny stayed awake all night watching over her. He did not sleep at all, but somehow he had never felt more at peace. In the morning was still there. She had not run back to the closet. She had stayed. It was a small victory, but to Danny it meant everything. 3 months passed. Still did not speak, but she no longer hid in the closet. She slept in her own bed now, though she kept the door open so she could see the hallway light. She ate at the kitchen table with Danny, sitting across from him in silence while he talked about his day. She had started communicating in her own way. It began with drawings. Danny bought her some paper and colored pencils, leaving them on her desk without saying anything. A few days later, he found a drawing on the kitchen table. It showed two figures, one tall and one small, standing under a yellow sun. The tall figure had brown hair. The small figure had blue skin. Danny put the drawing on the refrigerator with a magnet. More drawings followed. Some were happy, some were not. One showed a shuttle surrounded by flames. Two figures inside were holding hands. A third figure, small and alone, floated in the darkness nearby. Danny did not say anything about that drawing. He just sat on the couch and let her lean against his shoulder while they watched the stars through the window. Counselor came for a follow-up visit at the end of month 3. She walked through Danny's house, examining everything with her sharp eyes. She looked at the soft lighting and the quiet spaces and the drawings covering the refrigerator. Then she looked at. The little girl was sitting on the couch, not hiding, not curled up in a ball. She was just sitting there, watching with cautious curiosity. "This is remarkable," said quietly. "Our psychologist said she would never recover. They said the damage was permanent." "She is not recovered," Danny said. "She still does not speak. She still has nightmares. She still flinches when there are loud noises." "But she is present," said. "She is here. Do you understand how significant that is? She has not been present for almost 2 years." Knelt down in front of. The little girl did not look away. "Hello," said gently. "Do you remember me?" Nodded. It was small, but it was clear. "Are you happy here?" Looked at Danny. Then she looked back at. She nodded again. Stood up and faced Danny. Her expression was something he had never seen before. It looked almost like respect. "I do not understand how you did this," she said. "We have the best technology, the best medicine, the best trained counselors in the galaxy. None of it worked. But you, a human with no special training, reached her." Danny shrugged. "I just stayed." At month 4, Danny enrolled in school. It was a mixed-species elementary school in the next town over. The first day was terrifying for both of them. Clung to Danny's hand at the front gate, her antennae pressed flat against her head. "You do not have to do this if you are not ready," Danny said. But squared her shoulders and walked through the gate. Danny watched her disappear into the building, his heart pounding with worry. The first few weeks were hard. Some of the children were kind. Some were not. A group of boys made fun of silence, calling her names and laughing when she would not respond. Came home with her antennae drooping and her eyes red from crying. Danny wanted to march into that school and yell at those boys, but he knew that would not help. Instead, he sat on the couch and held her while she cried without making a sound. Then Lily Vance appeared. Lily was a human girl with red hair and freckles, and a personality that was twice as big as her small body. She decided that was going to be her best friend, and nothing was going to stop her. "Those boys are idiots," Lily announced on her first day sitting with at lunch. "Just ignore them, I do." Stared at Lily with wide eyes. Nobody had ever talked to her like that before. "I like your antennae," Lily continued. "They are pretty. Can you move them? Can you feel things with them? Do they hurt when you bump them on stuff?" To everyone's surprise, Santini lifted slightly. Lily grinned. "I knew it, you like me. We are going to be best friends forever." And just like that, had a friend. Danny attended every school event, parent-teacher meetings, science fairs, holiday concerts. He sat in the back and watched navigate her new world. Sometimes she struggled. Sometimes she shrank back into herself. But she always found her way forward again. One evening, 6 months after bringing home, Danny was reading aloud to her before bed. It was a story about a princess who got lost in a dark forest and had to find her way back to her kingdom. Was curled up beside him, her head resting on his arm. Danny reached the part where the princess finally sees the lights of her castle in the distance. He paused to turn the page. And then he heard it. "Danny." His heart stopped. He looked down at. She was looking up at him, her silver eyes bright and clear. Her lips moved again. "Danny." It was barely a whisper. It was rough and rusty from 2 years of silence, but it was real. She had spoken his name. Danny felt tears streaming down his face. He could not stop them. He did not try. "Yes, sweetheart," he said, his voice breaking. "I am right here." Reached up and touched his cheek, where the tears were falling. Then she asked the question that had been locked inside her for so long. "You will not send me back?" Danny pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "Never," he said. "I will never send you anywhere. You are home now. You are mine and I am yours, forever." Buried her face in his chest, and for the first time in 2 years, she cried out loud. 1 year after Danny walked into the New Hope shelter looking for a dog, he stood in a grand hall on Luna Station facing the Galactic Adoption Council. 12 officials from different species sat at a curved table, looking down at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Counselor had arranged this meeting. She wanted the council to see what a human had accomplished. "We review hundreds of adoptions every year," the council chairman said. He was an elderly alien with skin and 4 eyes that blinked in sequence. "Most follow predictable patterns, but this case is unusual." "Unusual is one word for it," another council member said. She was, with deep blue skin and antennae that stood straight with authority. "This child was classified as permanently non-responsive. Our own experts declared her beyond help, yet now we receive reports that she is thriving." Danny stood quietly and waited. He was not good at speeches or grand statements. He was just a construction worker who had gotten lucky enough to find a daughter. "We would like to hear from the child herself," the chairman said. "Is she present?" Danny turned and looked at the door behind him, walked in slowly, her hand holding Counselor's. She was wearing a new dress that Danny had bought for the occasion. Her antennae stood tall, not drooping like they used to. Her silver eyes were clear and bright. She looked nervous, but she did not look broken. "Hello," the chairman said gently. "We have some questions for you. Is that okay?" Nodded yes. A murmur went through the council. Several members leaned forward in surprise. They had read the reports about her silence. Hearing her speak was something different. "Can you tell us about your life with Danny?" the chairman asked. Was quiet for a moment. She looked at Danny, and he gave her a small nod of encouragement. She took a deep breath and faced the council. "When I came to the shelter, I was very sad," she said. Her voice was soft but steady. "My mom and dad were gone. I did not want to talk to anyone. I did not want to be anywhere. I wanted to disappear." The council listened in complete silence. "3 families took me home," continued. "They were nice. They tried to help me. They gave me medicine and talked to doctors and did everything they could think of. But I could not feel anything. It was like I was frozen inside." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Then Danny came to the shelter. He sat on the floor near me. He did not talk to me. He did not look at me. He did not try to fix me. He just sat there." His antennae lifted slightly at the memory. "He came back the next day, and the day after that, and every day for weeks. He never asked me to do anything. He never got frustrated when I did not respond. He just stayed." The council member leaned forward. That was enough, just his presence. Nodded. "When you are broken, everyone wants to fix you. They push and pull and try to make you better because your brokenness makes them uncomfortable. But Danny did not try to fix me. He just made sure I was not alone." Her eyes found Danny in the crowd. "That was what I needed. I needed someone who would stay even when I could not give them anything back." The chairman cleared his throat. "And now, how do you feel now?" Smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "I am still sad sometimes. I still miss my mom and dad. I still have bad dreams, but I am not frozen anymore. Danny helped me thaw." The council members looked at each other. The official had tears in her eyes. "We have one more question," the chairman said. "What would you like the council to know about humans?" Thought for a long moment. Then she spoke with a certainty that surprised everyone in the room. "Humans are strange," she said. They are loud and messy, and they do not understand how to feel emotions properly, but they have something that I have not seen in any other species. She looked directly at the council. They do not give up. Even when something is broken beyond repair, they keep trying. Even when everyone else says it is impossible, they refuse to stop. They are stubborn in the best way. She turned and pointed at Danny. He did not save me because he had some special power. He saved me because he showed up every day and refused to leave. That is what humans do. They stay. The chamber was silent. Then slowly, the council members began to applaud. The sound filled the hall, growing louder and louder until it echoed off the walls. The council certified Danny as a model adoptive parent. They recommended that his case be studied by adoption agencies across the galaxy. Counselor was asked to write a report on human caregiving methods. But Danny did not care about any of that. He only cared about the small blue hand that slipped into his as they walked out of the council chamber. He only cared about the little girl beside him who had found her voice again. That evening, they returned home to Earth. Danny had set up a small garden in the backyard, and he spent the sunset planting flowers together. She dug holes in the soil while he dropped seeds into them. They worked side by side without needing to speak. When they finished, stood up and brushed the dirt from her knees. She looked at the rows of freshly planted flowers, then looked up at Danny. "Dad," she said. Danny froze. She had never called him that before. His throat tightened and his eyes burned, but he managed to smile. "Yes, sweetheart." Held up a small flower she had found at the edge of the garden. "This one is for you." Danny took the flower with trembling hands. He looked at his daughter, this small alien girl who had been so lost when he found her. Her antennae were lifted high now, glowing softly in the evening light. Her silver eyes were full of warmth and life. "Thank you," he whispered. They sat on the porch together and watched the sun sink below the mountains. Orange and pink light spread across the sky, painting everything in soft colors. Danny held the flower in one hand and his hand in the other. He had walked into a shelter looking for companionship. He had found something so much more. He had found a daughter, she had found a father, and together they had found a home. The stars came out one by one above them. Danny stayed on the porch, not speaking, just being together. The silence between them was not empty anymore. It was full of everything they did not need to say. They were family now, and that was all that mattered.